Podcast
English every day.
Mia, I need to confess something.
That sounds serious.
I told my coworker I had a duck in my throat.
A duck.
A duck in my throat.
Leo, what were you trying to say?
I was trying to say my voice was hoarse.
That's not a duck.
I know that now.
So where did the duck come from?
In my head, I had the phrase in my own language first. Then I translated it, word by word, straight into English.
And somewhere in that translation, a duck appeared.
A duck appeared.
Did your coworker say anything?
He just stared at me. Then he asked if I meant a frog.
A frog in your throat. That's the real expression.
I know that now, too.
So close. And yet, a duck.
The worst part is, I knew the sentence was strange before it even left my mouth.
Then why did you say it?
Because I was so busy translating, I didn't have time to check if it made sense.
That's the real problem, isn't it? Not the duck. The translating.
Exactly. And that's actually today's topic.
Learning to think in English instead of translating in your head.
Before we get into that, though, I have to mention something that would have saved me from the duck.
Go on.
There's a resource we've been building called the Think Native Toolkit.
Tell them what it actually does.
It's a set of short daily prompts that train you to react in English first, before your brain even reaches for your first language.
No grammar drills, no translation exercises.
Just fast, instinctive practice. 10 minutes a day.
If ducks keep showing up in your sentences, this might help.
Link is in the description.
All right, back to the duck.
Please, can we not?
One more time for the people in the back.
I had a duck in my throat.
Beautiful. Let's get into the lesson. Hey, English learners. Welcome back to the English Leap podcast, your cozy little place to learn easy English through real, everyday conversations. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo, currently rebuilding my reputation after the duck incident.
Today we're talking about something almost every English learner struggles with.
Thinking in English instead of translating from your first language.
We'll talk about why translating slows you down and what to do instead.
Later in Say It Better, we'll fix some sentences learners say when they're stuck mid-translation.
And in Word Tour, we'll slow down some useful B2 to C1 words for talking about how your mind works in a new language.
Let's get into it.
So, Leo, let's start with the myth. A lot of learners believe that to speak good English, you first think the sentence in your own language, then translate it perfectly, then say it.
I believe that for years.
How did that work out for you?
You heard about the duck.
Right. So, what's wrong with that process?
Translating takes time. And while you're translating, the conversation keeps moving without you.
So you fall behind.
You fall behind, you panic, and then you just say whatever comes out.
Even if it's a duck.
Even if it's a duck.
Okay, so what does thinking in English actually mean then? Because it sounds a little mysterious.
It's simpler than it sounds. It means connecting an idea directly to English words, without your first language in the middle.
So when you see a cup of coffee, you think coffee. Not your own word for it, then coffee.
Exactly. Direct connection. No middle step.
That sounds nice in theory. But how do you actually build that connection?
Let's go back to my duck moment for a second.
Please, let's relive it.
In that moment, my brain reached for my first language automatically. It wasn't a choice, it was a habit.
So thinking in English is really about building a new habit.
A new automatic reaction. And habits get built through repetition, not through understanding.
Meaning you can understand this whole idea perfectly and still translate tomorrow.
Completely. Understanding doesn't rewire the habit. Practice does.
So what kind of practice actually works?
The first thing is narrating your own day, silently, in English in real time.
Like a commentary on your own life.
Exactly. I'm making coffee. The water is boiling. I'm tired today. Small, simple, present tense.
And you do this in your head, not out loud.
You can do both. In your head, while you're busy, out loud when you're alone.
What's the second thing?
Accepting incomplete thoughts.
What do you mean by that?
Learners often stop themselves because they don't know one word in the sentence,
And then the whole sentence collapses.
right? Instead, you describe around the missing word instead of switching back to your first language.
So if you don't know the word horse, you say,
My voice sounds strange today, or I can't talk normally. Not perfect, but still English, still moving forward.
no duck required.
No duck required.
I have to push back a little here, though.
Go ahead.
What if people really do judge you for a strange sentence? That fear is real for a lot of learners.
It's a completely fair fear. I'm not going to pretend it isn't there.
So, what do you do with it?
You separate what you can control from what you can't.
Meaning?
You can't control whether someone judges you. You can control whether you keep speaking English or switch back to translating.
So the goal isn't zero mistakes.
The goal is staying in English long enough for the habit to form.
That's actually comforting.
It's also honest. Mistakes are part of building the habit, not proof that the habit failed.
All right, let's turn this into something people can actually walk away with.
Rule 1. Connect ideas directly to English. Skip the middle step.
Rule 2. Narrate your day silently in simple English.
Rule 3. Describe around missing words instead of switching languages.
And Rule 4. Mistakes build the habit, they don't break it.
Very human of you, Mia, to remember all 4 without translating.
I've had practice. Let's slow down some of the words we just used. Now it's time for Word Tour, where we slow down strong words from today's conversation.
First word, instinctive. Instinctive.
Instinctive means happening automatically, without thinking or deciding first.
If you react to English without translating, that reaction is instinctive.
You can say, reaching for the right word felt instinctive today.
Or, her English reactions are becoming more instinctive every month.
Just don't confuse instinctive with careless. Instinctive still means it's correct, just fast.
Second word, narrate. Narrate.
To narrate means to describe events, usually as they're happening, like a commentary.
When you describe your own actions silently in English, you're narrating your day.
You can say, I narrate my morning routine to practice thinking in English.
Or, he narrates the game while he plays it, just for fun.
It doesn't have to be exciting. Narrating a boring afternoon still counts.
Third word, immersion. Immersion.
Immersion means being completely surrounded by something, in this case, the English language.
You don't need to live abroad for immersion. You can create it at home.
You can say, I switched my phone to English for more immersion.
Or, full immersion helped her stop translating within a few months.
Just remember, immersion needs consistency. One day of immersion won't rebuild a habit.
Fourth word, subconscious. Subconscious.
The subconscious is the part of your mind working in the background, without you noticing.
My duck moment happened because translating was living in my subconscious as the default reaction.
You can say, translating became a subconscious habit after years of grammar-focused classes.
Or, her subconscious still reaches for French before English, and that's okay for now.
The goal isn't fighting your subconscious, it's slowly retraining it.
Fifth word, fluency. Fluency.
Fluency means speaking smoothly and naturally, without long pauses or heavy effort.
Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about moving forward even with gaps.
You can say, his fluency improved once he stopped worrying about perfect grammar.
Or, fluency comes from practice, not from finishing a textbook.
A lot of learners chase perfection when they actually want fluency. They're not the same thing.
Last word, deliberate. Deliberate.
Deliberate means done on purpose, carefully and intentionally, not by accident.
Narrating your day is a deliberate practice. You're choosing to build the habit.
You can say, deliberate practice for 10 minutes a day beats one long session on Sunday.
Or, choosing simple words on purpose was a deliberate strategy, not a limitation.
So today we covered instinctive, narrate, immersion, subconscious, fluency, and deliberate.
If you want transcripts, quizzes, and shadowing practice for all 6 words, that's exactly what's inside the English League Club.
Small monthly step, big long-term habit. Now, let's fix some sentences. Now, let's use some of today's ideas in more natural sentences. It's time for Say It Better, where we take simple learner sentences and make them sound more natural, confident, and kind.
First sentence. My English is not good because I always think in my language first.
That sentence turns a habit into a permanent identity. It sounds like a life sentence, not a stage.
Better version. I'm still in the habit of translating before I speak.
It's more accurate, and it's honest about being temporary.
You could also say, translating is still my default, but I'm working on that.
Second sentence. I want think English.
This one's simple, it's just missing a small connector, but it's very common.
Better version. I'm working on thinking in English instead of translating.
You could also say, my goal right now is to think in English, not just speak it.
Third sentence. Sometimes my brains say nothing.
This describes a real moment, that mental freeze, but it sounds a bit robotic.
Better version. Sometimes my mind just goes blank.
You could also say, there are moments where I completely lose the thought.
Fourth sentence. I explain wrong because my head is slow.
This one blames intelligence, when really it's describing a process problem.
Better version. I lose the thought because I'm translating instead of just saying it.
You could also say, by the time I finish translating, the moment's already passed.
Fifth sentence. I want speak like automatic.
Close, but it needs a small shift to sound natural.
Better version. I want speaking to feel automatic, not forced.
You could also say, I want my English to feel effortless someday.
Last sentence. My idea is clear, but words not come.
This one is actually beautiful, honestly. It just needs natural grammar.
Better version. The idea is clear in my head, but the words just won't come out.
You could also say, I know exactly what I mean, I just can't find the words yet.
Here's the real message behind all of this. None of these sentences describe a broken learner.
They describe a learner in progress, mid-habit, mid-change.
The label isn't bad at English. The label is building a new instinct.
Before we finish, remember this.
You don't fix translating by understanding it better. You fix it by practicing without it on purpose, every day.
Direct connection, not translation.
Narrate your day in simple English.
Describe around missing words.
Mistakes build the habit.
Instinctive.
Deliberate.
Both at once, eventually.
Choose one small moment today, maybe making coffee, maybe walking to the bus, and narrate it silently in English.
No pressure for perfect grammar. Just practice staying in English a little longer than usual.
And Leo, if a duck shows up anywhere in that sentence,
We're not doing this again.
that's all for today.
See you in the next episode.
Bye for now.